All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Balo-Lou. I'm the program manager for the Global and Experiential Education Office, and I have the pleasure of being your host tonight for the session. We will get started just now. Just repeating for the folks who are just joining us now, this session is being recorded and will be made available tomorrow on the website and on the web brochures. We'll also email it out to make sure that everybody receives it. So you don't have to worry about taking detailed notes. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right in. So just a little bit of a background on my office and a bit of a reminder. Our office's key functions include international student services. We are in charge of liaising with the ISO in order to provide our international graduate students with the visa support documents they need to study in the States. So my colleague Elisa Becker works in that portfolio and works with our international students here at the school. I also manage the overseas study portfolio, which is our long-term study abroad portfolio or term exchange in other terms. We also run experiential education programs, which is the topic of our presentation today, both domestic and international. And we do advocacy and collaboration for global and experiential education and initiatives. These typically result in dual degree programs, for example, that are across institutions in different countries. So our MSF program has a dual degree with Renmin, for example, in China, and our MSPM program has a dual degree with KDI in Korea. So those are some examples of the type of advocacy that my office does. In terms of program offerings, we manage degree requirements for international residencies for a full-time MBA cohort called the CAP program. And we also manage the Capstone 1 requirement for study abroad for our Masters of Science in International Business program. We run, of course, short-term elective programs and long-term study abroad, and we have various initiatives, services for international student engagement. So just a quick snippet about our return to mobility after the COVID pandemic began in 2020. Although we were not able to hold a lot of our programs for 2 years, we successfully returned to mobility just this spring, running 15 programs, 12 of which were overseas. We saw participation of 216 students, which we are very proud to say were very successful. We had 11 destinations offered last year, and we worked with 923 international students, both at the graduate and undergraduate level from 108 countries. So we're very happy about these numbers, especially because this year has been so challenging with the pandemic. So going into the next academic year, we're really hoping to at least match these numbers and or even surpass them and offer even more of these options to our students. So the agenda. So for today, I'll give you an overview of STAPs. So what are STAPs? Why should you do a short-term study away? When can you do a short-term study away? Where can you go and how can you apply? And then I will pass it on to our faculty leaders who have joined us today and will present about their specific courses. You'll hear directly from them about the experience, the content, and we'll have just a few minutes at the end of each of their presentation for specific questions regarding the content. And then I will jump in to describe short-term exchange programs that are going to be offered next year. I'll also talk about business and society course series and what those offerings will look like. I will end the presentation with application details, including critical dates and deadlines. And then we'll chat a little bit about additional and future opportunities. If you want to get engaged at the global level but can't travel on these specific programs in this specific term, we'll talk about what the future holds in terms of looking out to the summer. And then we'll have a lengthy 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions. But if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and chat box, and we'll make sure to address those towards the end of the session. All right, so what is short-term study away? Short-term study away programs are academic courses that are taught off campus. So they can be either in a domestic or an international setting. They involve a short-term travel abroad or in a specific destination of 7 to 10 days approximately. These are elective courses and they count towards credit. So you can earn credit for these classes and count towards your degree program as long as you have a general elective credit space. The travel does not interfere with DW's class schedule in the winter and the spring. So you can plan to travel right when the university breaks, so over January or over spring break, and then be back in time to pursue your classes. So what I want students to understand is that these programs are academic courses, meaning this is not vacation. Of course, a vacation would be probably less enduring than a program such as this. But they are very intense once you're in country. You're doing business visits, you're in cultural activities, you're in classes if you're in a short-term program, you're in seminars, you're in lectures, back to back the entire time you're there. So these are very short and very intense programs, and the same level of performance attendance that you have at GW is expected on these abroad programs in order to pass them. So it's definitely not a reason to perform not as well as you would in a campus course. So what types of short-term programs do we offer? There's two main types. There's a faculty-led programs and there's short-term exchanges. Faculty-led programs are typically 1 to 2 weeks, 2 weeks max. They are led by a School of Business faculty. So this may be a faculty that you're familiar with, that you're taking classes with, or that you're interested in taking classes with. And they include 2 to 6 pre or post travel class sessions. That means that you are on campus taking classes before you travel, basically building that context, working with the partner on the ground, getting that context from the faculty, and then traveling, and then coming back and basically debriefing, doing the final presentations, final papers, whatever you need to submit to complete the program. Now, there's two types of faculty-led programs that you can encounter. They can be either a business immersion program, which are thematically focused on one area of business in a host destination. And this is an opportunity for you to network with GW students because you're doing group work. You are basically talking to professionals in a specific area who are telling you about their experience at a specific company or as professional in that industry altogether. Global Business Project involve a specific project with a real partner, a real client that needs a recommendation for business solution. So you work with the faculty will coach you into doing the research, gathering all the data to make a recommendation that the partner could then implement in their organization to solve the problem that they're seeking to solve. So this is an opportunity for you to network with students because you'll be working in a team with those students and on that project, and you'll also be able to network with those partners, right? These partners can be companies, organizations, NGOs, businesses, a wide slate of possibilities depending on the faculty's network. Short-term exchange programs are different than faculty-led programs because they're led by our partner institutions. They hold the programs, they run the whole show. They have the schedule, they have their curricula, they have their syllabus, the readings, they provide the faculty and the facilities. They provide everything about the experience. These are immersive cultural experiences and they target specific areas of expertise that could be corporate governance, they could be sustainability, they could be technology, depending on the area of that is offered. This is a great opportunity to network with partner institutions and students from all across the world, because the same way we have a number of partner institutions from the world and we invite those students to GW for study, that same way that our partners have those relationships with other schools. So you're in a truly global program with students and faculty from all around the world. So why study away? Why would you decide to do a study away program? Well, study away exposes you to new regions, countries, sectors, subjects, ways of doing business that you may or may not be familiar with. Or if you're doing a career switch, this is a great, right, a great opportunity to get that context that you need to get started. This will give you access to new topics of study, especially those that are not available here at GW. It will enhance your skills, increase cultural competency and awareness, develop and expand your network, advance your degree program because you are actually gaining credit during academic breaks. So if that is available in your degree program, you'll be able to graduate early. Who can study abroad? Again, broken down per category. If you're doing a faculty-led program, all graduate and qualified undergraduate students at GW can apply for our faculty-led programs. Non-GW applicants can apply, but you must enroll as a non-degree student at GW to actually participate into the program. These credits will apply to general elective space that doesn't have any restrictions. If you don't have general elective credit space in your degree major because all of your classes are perhaps required, or you only have selectives, which you can only sort of pick from very specific classes here at GW, you may still participate in a program, but you will be responsible for the added cost, right? So you'll still be charged the tuition, but you won't be able to apply it to your degree. So that means it's going to be an added cost for you. All degree majors and schools are eligible to apply for faculty-led programs. On the other hand, short-term exchanges are limited to graduate students only and graduate students at the School of Business only. So undergraduates are not eligible to apply for short-term exchanges, and non-GWSB graduate students are not eligible to apply for this opportunity. Where can you go? Well, here are the options for the winter break and spring break. Over the winter break, we'll have one program, short-term exchange with Grenoble. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more about it in the later on in the presentation. And then over the spring break, we have about 6 programs and courses, one of which is a business and society course that, again, I will describe in the later slides. One thing to note is that you can apply to as many programs as you would like, but you can only participate in one program in a single cycle. So you'll notice that over the spring break, we have tons of options, but you can only take one. Reason being, you can't be in 2 places at the same time. All of these programs will occur at the exact same time. So, we'll have students in Austin, in Sweden, in Denmark, in France, in Mexico, and here in DC right at the same time. So you can only pick and you can only participate into one program, but you can apply to multiple to give yourself the best chances of getting into one. How can I choose a program? So choosing a program, of course, there are options for anybody and everybody, but you need to know your strengths and your weaknesses when you're picking a program. So you want to consider your regional interests, sector and subject, expertise, skills, professional goals, of course, your budget, because each program has a different estimated cost. So here are some guiding questions that can help you along the way. If you feel more comfortable in a sort of a tighter group, more intimate group, you want to have the opportunity to network with GW students and faculty, you may want to opt for a faculty-led program. Do you want sort of the experience of solving real business issues? It's like that consulting feel. You may want to opt for a global business project program, type program. If you're more independent, you like to navigate contexts where you're not necessarily familiar with the local language, or you want to have the experience of sitting in a class in an institution while abroad. You want to network with non-GW students and faculty. You may want to pick a short-term exchange because those are the ones that give you those options. Do you want to interact with students from other U.S. business schools, right? That's also an opportunity to take a short-term exchange because we have programs that fit that parameter. So these are just some guiding questions that can help you as you make your final decision as to which programs you're the most interested in to applying and, of course, into committing. So in terms of the timeline, winter and spring applications have opened on September 2nd, and they will close on September 25th, right at 11:59. The commitment timeline is October 5th to the 11th, meaning that on October 5th, you will receive a decision for all of the applications you submitted, so that you will be able to make an informed decision about which program you want to participate in. In terms of travel, winter program, travel January 2nd to the 9th, 2023, and all spring break travels will occur March 10th to the 19th. For summer programs, which we do have, we will announce those opportunities December 12th of this year, along with launching the application. And applications will close January 29th. So following the same path, you'll have a specific date at which you'll get all the decisions and be able to commit to a specific program. You can expect travel anywhere between mid-May and mid-August, not the entire time, but depending on which program you pick, you could be away for a week in June or a week in July or 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in July, and the like. How to apply to a program. You can go to business.gw.edu/global, and you will find our landing page, which is right here on the right. You want to go to short-term programs, and then you will see the list of programs. So as you see, all the program titles are hyperlinked because they lead to an online brochure, which is shown here. The online brochure is very easy to read. There are 4 tabs at the top of the brochure for the overview, details, the application process and policies, and the logistics. You want to make sure to review all the information so you know what the program is about before you apply, right? There's a reason why the Apply Now button is in the second tab under Program Details, because it's right next to eligibility. You want to make sure to review that eligibility section before you go through the trouble of completing the application and submitting a statement of purpose and all of those items. You want to check out the Application Process and Policies tab to make sure that you are including what you need to include in that application, right? So make sure to review all that information before you submit your application. So let's talk about some benefits of study abroad. You can earn academic credit over academic breaks, as I mentioned before. You can discover new destinations that you may have not been familiar with or that you knew before, but you never had the opportunity to explore. You get incredible networking opportunities with students, faculty, staff, alumni, students from all around the world. You also have you gain skills, right? Empathy, resilience, budget management, creativity, and all of these things that are necessary now, especially as you move forward in your professional career. Other things that you might want to consider when making a decision, you want to consider the added costs. How much more is it going to cost? You want to look into your personal planning, especially if you're a working professional and your program is occurring at a specific date. That means you're going to have to take time off of work in order to travel. So those are all the things that you want to plan on, that you want to start thinking about as you make a decision about these programs. You also want to think about the time investment. All of these programs are very intensive, so you want to make sure that you're set up for success once you're on the ground. Now, how to apply, concretely speaking. Once you click on that brochure and you click on apply, it will bring you to this screen. GW users log in with your user ID and password. If you're a returning student as of May 20th, 2022, you want to log in with your net ID and password. Do not enter your full email. The system will not recognize you as a GW user. You must use your user ID or your net ID. You would use your same password as your GW email in any other system like Blackboard, GW Web, and all of those systems. If you're able to log into those systems, you'll be able to log into GW Passport as well. So without further ado, I would like to transition to faculty-led programs. So I have the pleasure of working again with Professor Thomas Debass, who will be leading the STAP Startup City Austin in Austin, Texas in the spring 2023. So without further ado, I will pass the mic on to you, Thomas. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marie. So everyone, Thank you for joining us. I do have the pleasure of leading um, a Startup City course in Austin, which is tied to one of the most exciting festivals that happen in the US called South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. So I'll just let me break down the program a little bit for you, and I'll let you know the substance of what we cover. As Marie mentioned, it's open for graduate and undergraduate students. It's a 3 credit course. So it's a kind of a combination of both on-campus and off-campus states. So let me focus first on the on-campus side. We run a class Fridays from January 20th to March 3rd. As the title of the course entails, it is it's a startup. It's essentially this class is for you if you are interested in either creating a startup, you have a startup idea that you're thinking about, or you're just passionate about joining the startup culture. So it gives you kind of the entire playbook from how you get an idea concept and turning it into a product or service, and you go through the motions to get that. And the off-campus immersion class in South by is more about almost a practicum, where you're now taking this idea you have and be able to kind of immerse yourself into a kind of an oxygen chamber at Austin in 1 week, where a lot of talks and conversations are happening around startups, tech, and many other subjects at the conference. And so the dates are, as you can see, we're there from about a week and 1 week window. And go next. So the highlights again is this is the something that you can ignite your own startup journey. We focus mostly on South by's startup and tech track. They have different tracks. For those of you who do not know anything about South by, it is almost a 10-day conference. It has different tracks. It has a health track, an education track, a tech track, a startup track. It also has a music festival, a comedy festival, and film festival. So essentially, you kind of get an entire universe of ideas, excitement, and a lot of that stuff that happens in Austin. They call Austin a weird city. They don't call it weird for nothing, because it kind of encompasses and embodies everything else that happens around the world. Next. So the in-class sessions are, so we start with thinking about where the future is going, and I introduce my own playbook on startups, and the class comes out of my own, personal experience and journey that I went through with startups that I've created, that I've invested in, and all that. But I break down the classes in a much more fun, more entertaining way, and going South by becomes on brand, because we take these classes, the lessons that we've learned in these sessions, and apply them into real world experiences. So this is kind of the contents of what the class will look like. So every Friday from 5 to 7, we meet, and it only ends a week before we go to Austin. And one of the things that we do is there's a group project that you work on as a startup team, and you get to kind of pitch your idea, your concept that you have at South by. We rent a place, and we try to invite people, and in front of a live audience, you're gonna actually put your idea into the marketplace, into the public sphere. So that's the exciting thing about it. And I know we do have a student that went through this experience with us. Ruth is going to join, talk a little bit about that. But I don't know if I have another slide after this, Marie. Yeah, and the programming element of it, I just mentioned it. It's highly curated. So, and if Olivia or Marie, if you guys could share the actually draft syllabus for this year. We've already drafted it, but some of the programming that you see is from last year, because the South by programming does not come out until probably February or something like that, and we'll update it. But it gives you, looking at the programming right now, gives you kind of an inspiration of the type of talks you're going to hear. So we'll have guest speakers that are, aside from actually going to these sessions that are already in South by the badge you'll have an interactive badge that you'll get. But we also bring in guest speakers from the city. We have actually GW alumni who live there, who are in the tech space, so they'll come and talk to you. We'll also, hopefully, we'll have site visits. We've had some limitations in the last year because of COVID. We were not able to, I think we had 1 or 2 site visits, but hopefully we'll have more of those this year. So we'll do organized lunches and dinners in a way to create a cohort atmosphere and a culture. And the rest of it is very self-directed because the sessions are so overwhelming. It's literally from like 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. There are concurrent events happening, literally thousands of events happening that also then empower you to choose the type of things that you want to look at. They would have, I mean, they have literally have everything under the sun. Anything that you want to know, there's always a session happening in the city. So the entire city basically shuts down, goes festival wide, and it's beautiful weather and all that. And at the end, the picture that you see is one of the groups that did their pitch at South by. So that's pretty much my side. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I think this is the time Ruth comes in and gives her testimony.
Yes, great. Thank you so much, Tomas. Ruth, everybody invited you on the stage. So yeah, take it away. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the program and at South by. And yeah, and in the meantime, if you have questions, you can drop them in the Q&A or chat box, and we'll all be here to respond.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. This was an amazing opportunity. I would encourage anybody who's even thinking about it to think seriously about it. Dr. Debass is a great professor. I learned a lot, and we had a wonderful experience. It is as Marie said, it is not a vacation. It is fairly scheduled, but there is a little bit of room to see things that if you're interested in as well, specific things. It's an intense learning experience, intense networking, but it's also really a lot of fun. If you decide to go on one, I would encourage you to think about staying open to new experiences. For example, one of the nights our group was walking along toward dinner, and I looked over and we were about 10 feet away from Sandra Bullock. They were doing a movie premiere. She was on the red carpet. I think there was only 2 or 3 people between me and her when I walked past, and she was doing a premiere. I think it was for Lost City. There are all kinds of interesting things about Austin itself. It's a nice city, and I would just encourage anybody to that's thinking about it to go ahead and apply. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Professor Debass or Ruth here? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask away, or drop them in the chat box. Well, I think maybe just folks the choice to speak.
So if you think of a question and you want to have Marie send me an email, please go ahead and do.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We've got a question.
Let's see.
So one of our participants,
great question. It's about the workload, right? So I'll address that. So great question. You'll see it on the syllabus. So there are no tests. I'll tell you that. But it requires a great deal of attention span, and because of it, about almost 40% of the grade is on reflections, what I call reflections memo, where after each class you'll write a reflection of what you learned. Essentially, not summary of it, but what you reflect in terms of what you learn. And the other element of it is participation. Building a startup is a contact sport and it is team sport. So therefore, it's highly encouraged that you kind of get to know your group. And I remember Roots Group had an amazing chemistry, so they did everything together. So so there is a grading. Your peers kind of grade you on that. And the other one is participation in the class. Again, I'm much more a curator than anything else in the conversations, both at the in the lectures and also being in Austin. So I see attentively how people are engaged with the class, the questions that they ask, the value that they add, because it's almost like we have 25 students. I consider it to be we have 25 professors, because everyone brings their own insights and expertise to the table. So I like seeing everybody being involved in it. So about 20% of your grade is participation, mere participation. And the rest of it is, I think, don't quote me on the ratio. I think you'll see it in the syllabus. But the other element of it is the final project, which is the bulk of the grade, is this group idea that you will come up with and go through an entire evolution of how the idea goes from a concept to building it and all that. And then at the end, you'll pitch your idea in front of a live audience and you get graded by that. So that's essentially what the thing is. You can call it intense, but if your group has the right chemistry and everybody pulls their own weight, it's not as difficult as it is. And the more important thing is just like making sure that you don't say tomorrow. When you have the reflection right on the spot, the right spot, rather than I have time for it. I'm very flexible. Obviously, we all, most of our students are professionals. We all have other things that we need to focus on, but those are the kind of. But I'm sure Ruth has something to add to that.
Stay on top of it. Stay on top of the readings. The readings are very interesting, well curated, and the doing the reflections was not onerous. It just was something, though, that did need to be done and actually really added to the learning component. And the group work was great. It was a lot of fun. We had a project that we came up with. We started off with listing a lot of ideas, and we came up with, looking at what are problems people in our group had. And then we worked our way through the process, and it was great.
Any other questions? All right. Well, let's move forward. Again, if any questions pop up, feel free to put them in the chat box. And of course, there's going to be a longer Q&A session at the end where you'll have the opportunity to sort of ask those questions as well. So anyway, lots of opportunities to learn more about these programs. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to move forward and introduce the next program, which is the program Global Business Project in Sweden, the Innovation Ecosystem and Internationalization of High-Tech Firms. This program will be led by Dr. Anna Helm. And unfortunately, she could not join us today for unfortunate reasons, but I will be presenting on her behalf and collecting any questions that I'm not able to answer and transferring them over to her when she is back online and available to answer these types of questions. But hopefully, again, don't feel shy. You can definitely ask the questions if you have any about the content, and I'll answer as much as possible and transfer anything that I can't answer to Dr. Helm when she's available. So, program breakdown, similar to our STAP Austin program. This is open to graduate and qualified undergraduate students. This is 3-credit course. Students will be registered in the IPADE 6297 course. The on-campus dates will be January 20th. It's still TBD, but you'll be meeting once a week. You'll have a kickoff session first week of classes, and then you'll be meeting once a week or so for 3 sessions before spring break, so before you travel to Stockholm. And then you'll have 3 post-travel sessions where you're going to reconvene back on campus and keep working through your presentations and have the final presentation to the partner via Zoom or virtually. And then you'll have a debrief session, basically wrapping the whole session up and making making your recommendations. The off-campus dates itself, the travel dates, you can expect to travel on March 11th, be away through March 19th. March 19th is the day that you'll be heading back to the US. So let's talk about some highlights. So this program, as I mentioned before, is a project-based consulting course. So you'll be working in teams on a multi-phase consulting project with a specific company with the goal to develop a U.S. market entry strategy for Swedish clients. So Dr. Helm will share more information about who that client is, what their industry is. They're most likely going to be in the tech industry, and you will basically be drafting recommendations for that specific company based on parameters given throughout the course. So you will be doing research for the company. You will be collecting data once you're on the ground. You will be meeting with those folks, and then using all of that knowledge, all of that information to draft your recommendations. So this is a great program as it will allow you to navigate the U.S. high-tech landscape and sort of compare and contrast with the sort of Swedish landscape. And then you'll be looking at the different sort of regulatory frameworks, the tariffs, the trade policies, and all of those different items that fit into that market strategy. One possibility for the program, this will be communicated later once the itinerary is finalized, but the program will feature a visit to northern Sweden, to the city of Luleå, which is a great region because it's currently booming, especially with the recent developments around the Green Revolution. So there's definitely a lot to explore there, and that will be depending on the structure of the itinerary. You may be able to spend some time in Stockholm and then some time in Luleå, basically looking at these different companies, looking at the different parameters, and really exploring areas such as regenerative sustainability and those specific areas. It really doesn't beat to really hear from the faculty herself. So I will post a recording from the recording from the 2019 program. The same program ran back in 2019. So you'll be able to sort of listen to a lot of the context that Dr. Helm provides. And then, of course, reach out if you have any questions about the specific content, the structure, the clients that you'll be working with, and any of those really technical questions. I saw a couple chats in the box here, so I will go ahead and look at them to see if there are any questions. But at this time, I want to invite for questions about the Sweden program. Anything that I can answer for you guys? Okay, so I see a question from Lynette. Is there a virtual option for the on-campus dates, or do all students need to be in DC once a week? Great question. So all of the students that are coded as online in the system will have the option to join these courses remotely. So you will be given the Zoom link to join the session, and you'll be able to complete all the work. You are expected to participate though, so you'll still need to make sure to log in at the right time. These are synchronous sessions, so they'll be happening DC time, and basically the same standards of participation hold for the on-campus sessions. Great question. I had another question. Let me see.
Hey Marie,
Yes.
Ruth has some insights on this one too.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm an online student and I live about an hour and a half out of DC, and I chose to go in every week for those classes. One of my group members did not. It was fine. But for me personally, if you could even make it just for one of the classes live, I would encourage you to, if you can. So, but there was one of my group members that we didn't meet him till we got to Austin. So.
Great, thank you so much, Ruth. Yes, definitely worth mentioning that if you're in the DC area and you can make it to campus, it's a great opportunity because remember, you're in a cohort with your fellow GW students, so you're going to be meeting on the ground. So if you want to get to know them beforehand, you know, and you can make it to campus. That's something, of course, that we will encourage. But if you're like Nick, you're outside of the DMV area and you can't come in person, then you will be able to join online. So for both courses, both the Sweden and Austin course will have accommodation for those few students who will be joining online. And again, you will be given the link. Only online students will be given the link to join the sessions remote. Any other questions?
Marie, we did have a question about transcripts. It's from Ricardo Cardoza.
Oh, yes. So, Ricardo, yes. So first semester students can submit an unofficial transcript from a previous institution. That would work as well. Yeah, that would work fine. All right. Thank you for the great questions. Keep them coming in the chat. In the meantime, I will move forward with the rest of the presentation. So let's look at other programs. What are other opportunities to study in those terms in winter and the spring? Well, we have short-term exchange programs. So I described them earlier. These are programs that are led and managed by our partner institutions, and we have 4 wonderful programs, starting off with our Seoul Winter Program with Grenoble School of Management, located in France in Grenoble. The program is entitled Technology Management in the European Business Environment. It's part of their Innovation Week for Grenoble. And this program, of course, as I mentioned before, it's only open to graduate School of Business students. It's a 3-credit course. The overseas dates will be January 2nd through the 8th. I believe the 7th and the 8th, or the 8th and the 9th are 8th and the 9th is the Saturday and the Sunday. You have the option of course, you know, staying for a couple more days, visiting the city, but the program itself would be from the Monday and ending on, you can expect it to end on the Friday. The itinerary, the tentative itinerary for the course is included on the brochure. If you go under program materials, you'll be able to click, there's a hyperlink there, click on it, and you'll see the brochure that we got from Grenoble about details of the program. So you'll see the faculty that will be teaching, you'll see the different sessions in the description, you'll see the itinerary from what seminars you'll be having on each of the days, and what the activities will be like. So I encourage you to look at the brochure and check out that information. So let's talk about some highlights for the program. This is a collaboration between 3 business schools and Grenoble. So you'll be in the group with students from Fuqua Business School with Duke University, UNC Chapel Hill Keenan Flagler Business School, and of course the School of Business. So you'll form a group of about 25 to 30 students from those 3 institutions, and you'll be basically be taught by I believe 5 faculty from the Grenoble School of Management. Some examples of topics that you'll be exploring include big data and the future of marketing. You'll have a seminar on design in IT environments. You have a crowdsourcing and open innovation seminar, and as well as an international finance seminar. You'll also have a French language and culture seminar, which is really great if you want a little bit of an insight into French culture. And you'll have a serious gains workshop, which consists in basically analyzing and managing a company strategically. And basically you will have, you basically have to determine the company's strategy, make business decisions, and evaluate basically the consequences of the decisions and take corrective measures if needed. So it's very well structured, and you'll basically, upon completion of the program, you'll have a certificate in serious gains. The program also features an optional ski trip that you can take. I believe they used to have a ski trip. Now I believe this year will be a shoe snowing activity, if I'm if I'm saying that correctly. They haven't had as much snow as they had in the past because of course, climate change. So they had to switch activities, but you will have a snow-related activity that you can opt to do as well. Highly encourage it if you are a part of the program. But these are some of the special features of this program. All right, moving on to our second program, also in France, on corporate governance with our partner Audencia Business School. They're located in Nantes in France. This program will occur over the spring break and is a 3-credit program. Same, again, the dates will be 12th to the 17th, right over the GW spring break. Audencia is known for their expertise in global responsibility and adhering to the UN Global Impact Initiative and supply chain management. So they're very strong in that area. And you will basically be in a class with this is a GWSB custom program. So they designed this program specifically for us, specifically for our students. So it's like a faculty-led program. You will be in a group with GW students with your peers, and you will be taught by 3 of their faculty. You'll have company visits. Their company visits are always really, really wonderful and insightful. This year, they will feature visits at Cointreau, which many of you may be familiar with. They're the company that makes Rémy Martin, Coca-Cola European Partners, Belvedere, and Nature et Découverte. So these are the companies that you will be exploring throughout the program. So you'll basically be doing research, and exploring them a little bit deeper, and you'll also get to actually visit some of these companies, visit their manufacturing plants, and basically talk to leaders and executives and folks working in those companies, especially around how they frame their corporate governance framework. So the cool thing about this program is that it occurs in both Paris and Nantes. So the program begins at their executive campus located in Paris. You'll spend about 2 days in Paris. You can arrive a few days earlier if you want to visit, and then you'll be transitioning to Nantes. So you'll take the train all together to Nantes for the remainder of the week. So the program does end in Nantes, so you can, again, stay a few more days at the end of the week if you want to see the city a little bit more. It's a beautiful city, much smaller than Paris. And then you can head back to Paris and then fly back to the States from there. The program is structured, again, all these programs, not a vacation, very hectic. You'll have seminars in the morning, let's say 8:30 all the way to 12:31. You'll have lunch with them. Their lunch is part of the program fee, so they'll order lunch for you. And then you'll have company visits and group work in the afternoons up until 4:35. And then you'll have the evenings free to explore and visit and have dinner. So again, very, very intensive programs, but it really gives you, I like this program because it occurs over 2 destinations. It's a very short amount of time, so you get a really snippet of each of the destinations, but it's really compelling in that way. Our next program is Mexico as an Emerging Market with IPADE Business School. So this program is 3 credits as well, occurs over spring break, like the other programs. Some highlights is that the program is actually a requirement for the IPADE MBA students. So that means that you will be in a classroom with those students, as well as students from all of IPADE's partner schools, all around the US, all around the world. So last time I counted, there's about 52 participating business schools. So that just tells you how big of a cohort this is going to be. This program will be analyzing business opportunities that Mexico has to offer as an emerging market. You'll be able to explore the country's economic, political, and social context and how that intersects with the Mexican business culture. It has IPADE in general has a strong emphasis on the case method. So you'll have group work, individual study, plenary sessions, all sort of designed with that in mind. A couple of notes about the structure, very much like the Audencia program. Seminars in the morning, you'll have activities in the in the afternoons. Again, the schedule is included in the booklet. I just updated the booklet just this morning. So if you've already sort of looked at the application, at the brochure before or submitted an application, go back into the brochure. I've updated that this morning. So you'll see the program booklet for 2023 that has the list of faculty that will be teaching. It has the companies that you'll be visiting. It has the seminars that you'll be taking, and the different business lecture names are also on there. So there'll be 6 academic sessions, 6 lectures by business leaders. You'll have 3 company visits and 2 cultural visits as part of the program. So moving on to Denmark, sustainability and Scandinavia with our partner Copenhagen Business School. So this program is shorter in credit weight. It's 1.5 credits, and there's 2 weeks that are offered. So you can take one or the other. Although there's one of them that's only open to online students. So really only online students have the choice. So you can either take ESG, sustainability and impact investment, which occurs right over spring break, doesn't interfere with our classes, or you can take the regenerated sustainability, which occurs a week earlier, March 6th to the 10th. But that's only open to online students. So again, online students have the choice between the two, but you cannot take both. So what are some of the program highlights? This is another partnership with 5 business schools. So you'll be in a group with students from UNC Chapel Hill. You'll be in a group with students from Duke University Fuqua Business School, Texas McCombs Business School of Business, of course, GWSB, and Northwestern Kellogg. The whole program will be taught by CBS faculty. You'll have guest lectures and company visits as part of the programs. And this is a really great opportunity to learn about the unique features to Scandinavian and Nordic economy and business life. So Copenhagen has really, really great relationships with companies, so they'll be able to secure really compelling visits as part of that program. It is quite short, so which is why it's, in terms of the amount of contact hours, so the amount of time you're spending in seminars and group work is shorter than the other programs, which is why it's 1.5 credits rather than 3. Okay, great. So we can break for another just couple minutes to give me time to answer some questions. I saw a few come in the chat before we move on to sort of the application process and like the nitty gritty of the process. Oh, great. Okay, Mika, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. For the program over the winter break, does the credit apply towards the spring semester? Yes. Winter break program, we call them winter break because they travel right over that January break, but the credit applies for the spring semester because there's no winter semester at GW. It's either spring, summer, or fall. So the credits that you get from that program will apply to the spring semester. How many participants are typically accepted for each program? So, great question. For short-term exchanges, there's a cap, right? Especially those programs, as I was just describing them, that have collaboration between different schools. Each school is allowed to send a specific number of students. That number of students varies per school, varies per our agreement numbers, and sort of various other parameters. For faculty-led programs, we have a minimum participation requirement, right? So faculty-led programs can only run if there's 14 students who commit to a program. So those faculty-led programs need to reach that 14 cap. And then typically we accept up to 20, they can be up to 24, 25 max students on a faculty-led program. Short-term exchange is going to be a much smaller number. So good example for the Grenoble, we would have between 8 and 10 spots, depending on how much the partner gives us, if that answers your question. Okay, and then I have a question about travel requirements like housing, especially for Grenoble. So Again, I will redirect you towards the brochure. I did have the logistics section that describes sort of what the accommodation is for each program. So I will encourage you to check that out. But rule of thumb is that for short-term exchange programs, you arrange your own lodging because, again, like I mentioned, they're independent. So you arrange your own lodging. The partner has provided some recommendations of hotels that are in the vicinity of the school that you can opt for. If you rather be in an Airbnb, that's up to you. If you have family in the area, you want to stay with them, that's also, that's also available to you. But lodging is arranged on your own, and of course the flight and your personal meals and all of those things. The program fee that you pay to the partner will only cover, very specific items like transportation, like meals, like a welcome dinner, a farewell dinner, or like group lunches. And then sometimes it includes cultural activities. Again, everything is detailed on each of the program brochures, so check them out if you want to see the detail of what's included in the partner fees. For faculty-led programs, on the other hand, there's going to be a program fee attached to that course. So when you're registered in a class, you get billed for that program fee along with your tuition credits. And that program fee includes the cost of lodging. It will include the sort of any programmatic activities that you'll do on the ground. For South by, it'll include the South by program, the South by Interactive Badge. For Sweden, it will include any cultural activities that you'll be doing on the ground, local transportation, group meals, and travel health insurance for international programs. For faculty-led programs, you are going to be in double occupancy rooms, so you will be roomed with a peer. You will have the opportunity to select your own roommate once the program is approved and logistics begin. If for students who want to opt for a single room, you may have that option, but it's going to come at an additional cost, and it's typically quite high. Question from Noel. You mentioned the ability to extend trips. Does that mean that we are expected to organize our own travel to get to these locations? Correct. So you will be arranging again, we can't book flights for you because we don't know even know where you're flying to, right? A lot of our students are online. These are graduate programs, so you're really independent, and you are able to sort of see what your preference is in terms of when you want to arrive. Some folks are very, well-traveled and don't get tired, so they fly in, right on that Monday when things kick off and then fly right out. Some others, like me, need more time to adjust, so I'd rather arrive, a couple of days early and stay a couple of days late. So it really depends on your personal preference. But do not worry. Once when we kick off the commitment process, and when I start communicating with all students, I will hold a session to help students prepare for their travel. So I will first host a session when I give the green light to purchase airfare to help you make the best decision about what ticket to buy, what not to buy, where to live if you're in a short-term exchange, and those details. And then I will have a pre-departure orientation in January for all the spring programs, and then the Grenoble program will have their pre-departure orientation in November. So I'm going to basically give you the rundown of everything you can expect on the program and help you as much as I can make those accommodations and arrangements. Oh, hey, so I'm going to keep going through the presentation. I have a few more slides to cover, and then I'll come back to questions. All right. Application process. So again, application process is through GW Passport. You can apply to all programs of interest. You have the ability to rank your applications if you have more than one. I highly encourage you to do so. That will give us at GNEE an indicator of what your number one preference is and what maybe your third sort of not so much is, and that will allow us to better place you. Applications close at 11:59 on September 25th. The reason why it's in red is because many students wait until the last minute, and of course the system always crashes. So I encourage you to do it beforehand, especially if you know that you're really interested in these programs, you're already good to go. Submitting an application doesn't mean that you're committing to a program. It just means that you're applying. You'll have time to commit to a program once decisions are out. So if you're just interested and you're like, I want to see if I can do this, I would encourage you to just go ahead and submit the application. And then that way it just secures your spot, at least as a candidate being considered. Decisions, again, will be shared on October 5th. So you'll get all the decisions for all the programs, and you will be required to make a $500 deposit towards each of the programs that you're interested in. So if you're doing two programs, sort of like one over the winter break, one over the spring break, you need to deposit for each of those programs. Now that deposit doesn't come to us. It doesn't get paid to anybody. That deposit sits on your student account as a credit towards your spring bill. So when your spring charges occur for the spring, it applies to that. So it's like preparing your own tuition for the spring. The deposit applies to, again, spring 23 for both winter and spring break programs. Great. So moving on. Traveling in a COVID era. So all GNE programs fall under the scope of the GW International Travel Policy. So I encourage you to go to global.gw.edu, and it has the interim international travel policy there. Just read it, get familiar with it. That's the policy that we follow. So if the policy says we can't travel to a specific destination, we won't be able to do that. But right now it's been updated since as of July or August earlier this year, which has been made much more liberal than it was at sort of in the middle of the pandemic. All students are required to be vaccination compliant in order to participate in any of our programs. In addition to the GW, it basically being vaccination compliant, all participants also must meet the vaccination requirements of the travel providers, the destination, and the host institution. It's very important to note because we do not have control over those items. So if a specific country asks us for a specific number of shots, you need to meet that in order to go to that destination. So you basically have to fit both the GW policy and the host destination, institution, or travel provider policy. All right, let's talk about briefly about some additional opportunities available to you should you maybe not be able to travel on these programs. We have the Business and Society course series. This is a course that looks at how business is embedded in society. So it really takes advantage of the DC area and what the DC network has to offer. So these are intensive. They have a condensed model where you're really taking classes for 4 days over the spring break. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 9 to 5. So you'll have seminars, you have site visits, you have speakers, you have panel discussions. It has a focus on DC, like the photo on the right. The students went to Capitol Hill, right? So they had a speaker there, and they went there. That program was led by Professor Pierce back in 2018. Professor Pierce actually ran 3 business society courses: one on autonomous vehicles, another one on fintech, one on cryptocurrency. So these are very current topics, and that really sort of focus on the resources that DC has to offer. So even if we say that this is a on-campus course, it's really off-campus because you're out there in DC speaking to folks in those areas and visiting those sites rather than being on campus. You only convene on campus for a few hours during the day to sort of debrief and maybe have like a group work, but you're going to mainly be out in site visits. Oopsie. So the course that will be offered in the spring break is called Impact Investment. It'll be taught by Dr. John Forer from the Corporate Responsibility Institute. It's a 3-credit course. This is an open enrollment course rather than being application, so you do not have to submit an application. As a matter of fact, there's no application attached to the brochure. The brochure is purely informative. It just tells you about what the course is going to be about. We advertise it along with our short-term offerings because it is a short-term course. It is experiential. It is really what GNE is about, but it's different from other STAPs because it doesn't have an application process. So if it doesn't have an application, how do you sign up for it? Well, when registration opens for the spring 23 in November, the registrar's office will post it on their website. So if you go to the link below, registrar@gw.edu, you'll be able to find the the spring 2023 schedule. Once it's posted, they'll tell you, for example, it starts on November 8th, for example. And then November 8th, starting at 7 a.m., you want to go in GWeb and then find the course and sign up for it. These courses do fill up really, really quickly. So if you really want to take this course, you want to make sure to sign up right at the open of the registration at 7 a.m. on that given date. The registrar's office typically announces that date in early October when the spring 23 schedule is made live. So keep an eye on that in order to see when to sign up. Your academic advisor will also send you reminders as to when registration opens because you need to register for other classes as well for the spring. So the DC, so the program dates would be March 15 to the 18, 2023, and you'll have a few pre-course sessions virtually between February and March. They're to be confirmed for now, but you'll have a few sessions before. All right, quick plug for long-term study abroad. If you're interested in, let's say you do a short-term program and you're like, I really like this partner, I want to do a full semester there. Well, we have long-term study abroad at our 20 partner institutions across 17 countries. These are all top business schools with diverse areas of expertise, saying the exposure to new academic environments, courses, language, and networks. You take classes all in English. You do not need to know the local language in order to be successful. And you can spend either a fall or a spring semester abroad. Spring 2023 abroad for long-term study is the deadline to apply is actually this Sunday at 18. If you're new coming in, exploring, I have a recording of the information session that I had for long-term study abroad available on the website, so you can go check that out. And sort of start thinking about if this is something that you want to do. I always point students towards these opportunities because, again, these partners have been selected because they complement GW in many different ways. Bocconi University in Italy, ESSEC in France, and Grenoble are really strong or have a strengths in things like luxury brand management, right? That's a topic that you're passionate about. Those are the schools that you want to check out. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, the TAU, right? That's the partner that you want to explore. So all of these partners have their strengths. We have those highlights on the brochure, so check them out, read about them. If you're curious, reach out and we can tell you more. Another opportunity is the Global Business Network. The Global Business Network is a sort of consort, a network of over 100 leading business schools around the world in 50 countries. I'm highlighting this because there's actually a conference coming up November 7th to the 9th. I believe you must have gotten an email already that went out. I will also have the registration code and how to sign up and all that information. The communications that will be going out tomorrow with a reminder for STAPs. But highly recommend you taking advantage of this network. It will, especially if you're interested in networking with folks who, again, from all around the world and you can't travel, this conference is where you want to be, right? This is what you want to do. It's both virtual and in person. Students from GW have access to the virtual platform free of charge, courtesy of GW Cyber. So feel free to check out the website. Our institution registration code is included right there. So you'll be able to take advantage of that free resource. So once you sign up for the conference, you'll be able to enter the Social Logistics Challenge, which, again, if you're interested in making a social impact, you can check this out. There is a cash prize for first place. So feel free to check out the QR code, go on their website, check out and read more about the opportunity and how to get involved. Now let's look over to the summer. So I spoke briefly about summer options. They're not open for applications yet, but I can already tell you what programs have been approved. and what programs are kind of, more or less, I'm pretty sure they're going to run. So in terms of faculty-led destinations for the summer 2023, we will have a program to Singapore, we'll offer a program to Singapore on exploring small and medium enterprises in Singapore with Professor Yoon Zhang. There's going to be a program to the United Kingdom, Business and Estate in London. This program has been offered for a few years now, so the iteration of summer 2022, the brochure is currently still live on the website, so you can go check it out to see if that's something that you'll be interested in. We have a program to the Republic of Georgia led by Professor Selene Mattis on social entrepreneurship. And then we'll have our Business and Society course series on strategic foresight with Professor Thomas Debass over the summer. So those have all been approved. Again, applications for summer programs will open in December. Brochures will go live. You'll have all the information you need to know. Everything you want to know about those programs will be posted then. We'll also have probably more short-term exchanges than what's on the slide here, but these are at least some that I know are going to be offered again, as they have been this summer. With China reopening, our partner in China will probably offer their summer program. So again, keep your eyes peeled for the announcement that will go out later on in the semester. All right, so final steps. Ensure you're able to travel. If you're really interested in doing a program, you want to make sure to get on your passport or renew your current passport. You can't travel with a passport that's expiring within 6 months of your travel. You want to understand your personal travel requirements, especially if you're an international student. You want to check out your DS 2019 or I-20 date to make sure that the date is current, that you have status, and that your visa expiration date is okay to travel. You also want to check out checking out travel requirements is the onus of the student. So if you need a visa to go to a specific destination, that's something that you want to start researching. There's going to be resources for all the destination, but it's really going to be the onus of the student. That's why I said planning is going to be a big part of your experience on these programs. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, worries, you can call, email us, Zoom us. We are in person here on the 5th floor of Duquesne Hall in Suite 551. If you want to swing by and have questions, you can also feel free to reach out to us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. You have all of these different ways to get in touch with us. So please do follow us. We do have, when we have highlights on specific programs, on long-term study abroad, upcoming deadlines, opportunities for partners. Our partners have conferences and events that are open. We post them on social media. So please go ahead and give us a follow so you can keep current on those opportunities and make the best, have the best experience possible at GW. So on that note, we are at the end of our presentation. So right on time. Let's open it up for questions. At this time, you can unmute yourself and ask away, or you can raise your hand and we can, of course, ask you to unmute yourself and speak up. So I'm going to go in the chat here to see if there's any questions. Let's see.
We've got one from Ruth.
I'm sorry, I lost the chat box. Here it is. Okay. Okay, so Ruth asks, can you discuss the logic behind waiting to buy airfare until the green light? Yes, because you can't book your airfare as you apply because you don't know if you're going to get into the program. Once you get into the program, you want to wait, because if you saw it on the brochure, the partner wrote tentative, right? So once the program is confirmed and I have the information from the partner saying, yep, it's starting on the 2nd, the date we said, then you can go ahead and book your airfare. So that information, I don't have it until later on. So I don't want you basically go ahead and book your fare preemptively, and then I'll tell you, no, actually the program starts on the 4th, and then you have to change the date. you're going to be mad at me and I'll be mad at myself. So to avoid all of those complications, I just tell students, do not book your airfare until you have the green light from me. I have everything sort of laid out in a structure so that for the Grenoble program, the turnaround time is really, really quick. So when you get the decision that you're going to basically go to Grenoble, within a couple weeks, you're going to get the green light from me to go ahead and purchase your airfare. For students on the spring programs, you're going to get it, but don't worry, you're going to get it. You'll get it with enough time, at least 90 days, right? At least 90-day window from travel to purchase your fare. So that message will go out probably late in November, in December, once I know, for example, which hotel you'll be staying and all of those things that you need to book your airfare. So that's the logic. It's basically waiting for all the solid and last final information before booking your airfare. Angelina asked a great question. How do we stand out in our applications? That's a question that I get a lot, right? How do I make myself stand out? Well, surprisingly, a lot of students do not put a lot of thought in that statement of purpose. It's really that statement of purpose that I look at, right? When I'm reviewing applications for short-term exchanges, I want to know who you are. I don't know. I just see your name, right, as an applicant. But that statement of purpose is the way for you to tell me about who you are, why this opportunity is unique for you, how it will help you in your career, if you're switching fields, how this will get you your foot in the door, or if that's your, if, for example, something like sustainability is your calling. Tell me about those things that are meaningful to you and how the experience can actually make a difference to you, and that will make you stand out. Because many times students, I have some guiding questions on the application, they just answer that, but that doesn't tell me about sort of why that opportunity is unique to you. So don't be restricted by those examples on the application. Really just take a deep dive into what you want to get out of this program and how it can really benefit you, and that will make you stand out. Any other questions? Looks like Professor Debass and Ruth are still here. So if you have questions for them as well, feel free to drop them in the chat box. And again, I want to reiterate that I'm sure it's very overwhelming, right? When you think about traveling and you have to book your airfare and you have to book your lodging for for short-term exchanges, it can be overwhelming. I will have sessions to walk you through sort of what the best platforms are to make arrangements. What do you want to look for? Like that's feedback that I've got from previous programs. So I will sort of I will have intentional sessions to help you make those arrangements, especially if this is your first time traveling or if you've never been to the destination. I will sort of provide information so you won't be sort of out there on your own. Of course, it's your onus to really decide. So I can't tell you exactly what flight you want to take, but I could tell you which airline you want to consider, what time you want to consider, maybe which connections you want to consider, because those all will impact your travel. So definitely feel free to reach out. Again, sbantl@gw.edu. Olivia and I both monitor that email, so we'll be able to answer all of your questions. We had so we have this session. I will schedule maybe an open advising day sometime next week as well. So if you want to come in and ask further questions before the deadline comes, I will of course be open to that as well. But so if there aren't any other questions, feel free to jump off and go to your other commitments. And it is quite a pleasure to be having these opportunities, and I really hope a lot of you apply and sort of just come to us and ask questions. Olivia and I again are available and are more than happy to guide you as you make a decision. Check out the brochures, make sure you have all of the most up-to-date information about the programs, and reach out to us if you have any questions.